Well, hello again world, and today's video is accumulation of walking in the sunshine yesterday, reconnecting with a very dear friend of mine and former colleague, and putting together more pieces of the picture, joining the dots and sharing it with somebody that's also awake and has known me for nearly 5 years now. So this is not a fairy tale. And I think when we're on this awakening journey, on this spiritual path, or on this path of being a human being, on the path of discovery, rediscovery of who we are, I know that I'm in 0 point, and I know that I'm living this life on a day by day, minute by minute basis, and I have a lot of pressure from external sources wanting to know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going. I don't know when I'll get there, but I'll get there. I'll get there when the time is right. But I feel now that many pieces of my journey, my soul mission, my journey, my soul purpose, my purpose for being on this planet are coming closer and closer, because I'm getting closer and closer to discovering, or I've discovered, what I've discovered is quite incredible. And a lot of my teachings has always been to be this helicopter perspective, being neutral, completely neutral, not passing judgment, not passing any opinion whatsoever, or applying thoughts from knowledge, or knowledge from historical facts that have been pushed down our throats, because my view of history is what it is. And we have to take a perspective on history about how much is true and how much is not true. So let's just say half of it's true. And I seem just to process certain pieces of history that are relevant to me. And I suppose that's a focus of understanding of the soul path and what's important in life. When we're taking a massive global perspective of everything, our visions are somewhat distorted. So I'm focused on my journey, and I've uncovered so many interesting facts and interesting realities about what's happened to the place where I'm going, and how from such a small place it played a major role in the world, and how it impacted society today, and how it was a departure point for so many things. And through a lot of dreams this last few days and weeks, everything has gone really sort of, I can see the purpose, I can see the reasons, I can see its meaning, and everything to do with what we are doing to transform and transmute the low vibrational energies into positivity. And I was walking yesterday with a dear friend of mine, soul sister, former employee, former colleague, confidant, and many other things. A woman that helped me through a very tough and traumatic period of my life, when my divine counterpart ended my life, and when my children left my life to go their separate ways. And I just let it all out. And yesterday we walked along the River Danube, and yesterday she said it's the first time she's walked along the River Danube since she's lived in the city for over a year. So it was good, and the sun was shining yesterday, and the energy was very high. There were lots of people out on the streets. There was a saint's day here, Saint Sarah, who was renowned to be the enlightener, and our conversations were certainly very enlightening. And when we are able to take this helicopter view and able to apply our own life experience and our own inner wisdom to these situations, we can see the significant impact or the significant role that we are playing. And whether that's us as individuals or others that are part of our journey, what role they're playing. So sort of you get to define the journey and its purpose, and start to understand why you've chosen to go this path, and why certain people aren't in your life. And a lot of it is really down to strength, tenacity, belief. Belief is the biggest driving force, and love. And this week I've been very creative. I've been writing a lot. I know that I wrote one article last week of 3,000 words in 2 hours, which is like boom. But I also remembered that I wrote my book in a month, in 2017. So it's not outside of my skill set to be able to do these things. But I never, when I'm writing, I never think, I'm just channeling. And I actually normally publish the articles without doing corrections and things like this, because that's what's meant to be said. Spelling and stuff like that seems to be getting quite near to perfection right now, which is good. So my channel is very, very clear. And I know where my journey is taking me, and I know those people that are part of the journey, and people are coming back into my life. I spoke to my stepdaughter and saw my granddaughter for the first time since she's been born. So I spoke to my stepdaughter for the first time in probably 5 or 6 years. I also connected with another member of family in Australia that's linked to my children. I've reconnected with other people here. So people are coming back into my life. I've reconnected with my counterparts' family also. Not direct family, brother-in-law and things like this. So things are shifting. Things are shifting, and this means love is prevalent. It means the energy work that I'm doing with my soul family is having an effect on clearing away these stigmas and these attachments to old things. And I know I have a very strong connection to the Roman Empire, the Roman dynasty. I've had many past life regressions involving Romans, and I've played the role of many Roman hierarchy, if we want to call it that way, in past life regressions. So last night I had a dream. Yesterday we were talking about notes that I wrote back in 2015, and I'm carrying those notes with me still today. And this was the launching point of discovering terminology, spiritual world of twin flames and twin souls. And I wrote on pieces of paper Cleopatra and Roman general, and I never heard of Cleopatra except watch movies, but I never knew who she was, but until I realized she's the last pharaoh. And I recognize on my journey to my destination, which is very shortly about to happen, there's another synchronicity with a royal bloodline, the last African bloodline. But then I look in Europe, and then I see the same synchronicity with the last royal European bloodline, pure bloodlines, and I'm referring to pure bloodlines that were not infiltrated by those forces that are prevalent today. And I see the synchronicities. I see the synchronicities with where I'm going. I see the synchronicities of the journey that I've been on. I see the synchronicities wherever I've lived, and this is about indigenous people, native people, before colonization, that were roaming free. I've also reconnected with, or connected with, somebody that was part of a project that I was involved with a few years ago that was representing the Native Americans and the sovereign nations. And I see a very, very clear picture of what work is being done at a very, very high level. It's multi-generational, it's multi-dimensional, it's multi-racial, multi-classes. It's across the whole spectrum of humanity. And in my view, we're healing the damage that colonization has caused, Western society has caused, to Africa, to South America, to North America. You see, because we have a trail of destruction. We've enslaved people. And we started this a long time ago, in 1500s, probably before that. It was done before that in the Roman days, but more recent history is 1500s. But my journey is particularly focused on an area that was colonized, and places that were not inhabited before. So colonization basically destroyed a pure place and replaced it with very low vibrational energy, and horrendous industries, horrendous damage to the environment, annihilation of particular species of bird, annihilation of particular species of a mammal, annihilation of a particular forests, everything, destruction, and left a trail of blood and gore all over the world. And asked myself, what is the purpose of me being involved with this project that I'm involved with now, myself? How is it relevant? And I see the relevance because the person who I'm connected to, his predecessor was known as the Man of Light. He lived in the City of Light in Paris. He worked in the City of Paris, City of Light, he worked in Paris, which he referred to as the City of Light. He was based in New York, but he was from this part of the world, the Balkans. And when I traced back early this morning, having walked with my friend yesterday for several hours, researched a little bit more about Cleopatra, her descendancy is from the Balkans. Her father was a general for Alexander the Great of Macedonia. And last Thursday, the dispute between Greece and Macedonia was resolved for the most appropriate name to call Macedonia. Now I think it's called Northern Macedonia. So the last Egyptian pharaoh, Cleopatra, was not Egyptian. She was from the Balkans, which is a quirk in history, I suppose. And her father was a general to the great Alexander the Great. So when we look at that bloodline or that dynasty, it was ended. But what I can see here in reality is a new beginning, a new future. And yesterday was a very enlightening day because I was trying to guide my good friend on how to transform her life because she's stuck, and how she can transform it very simply by understanding and seeing what she's experienced with me over the last 5 years, because we've shared lots of information, and she's aware of all of the things that have happened to me in the last 5 years. And her words were, it's a fairy tale. I said, it can't be a fairy tale, because fairy tales are in books and they're written and they're fantasy. We refer to fairy tales as fantasy. And when you say fantasy, fairy tales don't come true. This is not a fairy tale. This is a real living story. It's evolving. And I know that most of the people connected with me now are part of that journey. And it's for them to make the decisions in their own worlds, whether they're going to align with it or whether they're going to continue in the path that they're going on. So it makes sense why I've been guiding a lot of people in the most recent year of my life. Because the depth of this that we're doing is so deep. It's so magical. It's so Hansel and Gretel. It's so all of these wonderful magical stories that we were told as young people, and all of the wonderful magical films that are made about love, honor, and all of these things. But it's not a fairy story. It's a reality that's occurring to one person in this world, and other people can see it and understand it. So this is not a fairy story, fairy tale. This is a real story. And what I assimilated yesterday was, okay, if it's happening to me, I'm living this story. It's not a fairy tale. Therefore, others are living a fairy tale because they can't see the truth within themselves because they're wearing masks. And this is basic psychology. When we go to work, we put on a mask. When we go into society, we put on a mask. I'm not putting on a mask now. I haven't done for a long time. But many people still hide behind their masks. And it's time for these masks to come off. If you can see the truth and how you're connected to a certain story or a certain person's life, you can see the truth, you can see the picture, you can see the reality. That's not a fairy tale, that's a reality. The fairy tale is, what role do you play in that person's life, or what role do you play in that journey? Because there's a reason why you connected with a person. 100% there's a reason. And our role is to break away these illusions, these masks, to get to our inner self, to find out our true power and our true essence. And yesterday I was talking like I was a very old, learned scholar, talking about history, how it happened, why it happened, and the reasoning behind it, and the purpose of this journey that is going to happen in very, very soon. And all of this journey is confirmed by astrology. All of this journey is confirmed by series of events. And yesterday when I was walking, both of us were watching synchronization happening in front of our eyes. So it's not a fairy tale. It's not a fairy story. It's a real life living story. And we can make these stories our reality. We just have to live them. We just have to believe them. We have to trust in them. And it doesn't matter whether certain individuals are not part and parcel of this life today. Maybe they were just catalysts in the first place to trigger this inner knowing and this inner wisdom. But I know that certain individuals served a much bigger role than that, co-creators of this particular project. And I see the importance of them in this particular project. But I am not going to force the co-creators to join me. That's their choice, because the creation has been made and it will go forward. It will go forward in earnest, and knowing all that I know, it will be successful. And other people will be involved in that will not be surrogate. They will be surrogates, because they will adopt those roles, because that's what's necessary for that energy to manifest in such a way. Because what we're doing is tremendous. What we're doing is going to transform and transmutate hundreds, if not thousands, of years of trauma and travesty, falsity. So we are entering the new age. We are already in the new age. And from the information that I wrote yesterday, watch out for the 3rd or the 6th of March 2019. 3rd of March 2019 is 333 in numerology. 6th of March 2019 is also a divine day. So there are very many divine days, divine numbers at play. So these days are going to be significant. And don't be surprised if you hear the terminology second coming, where you start to see the truth about certain stories that have been written in the past come to fruition. Because they're happening. They're happening in my life. I can see them, I can feel them, I can sense them. And I'm ready for whatever's coming my way. And I know that I will get there, because I have the faith and the knowledge and the wisdom and the belief that it's meant to be. Because this is my destiny. This is the destiny of me and many others that have walked this planet for eons. Now we are going to transform it into a wonderful magical playground where everyone can live their own life story and get out of the fairy tale lives that they're living. Sending you lots of love and light. Until the next time. Bye-bye.